Hi, and welcome to Comedy Recapped. Today we're going to be talking about the 1998 coming-of-age comedy drama Rushmore, directed by Wes Anderson. This movie stars Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, and Olivia Williams. We follow the story of Max Fisher, an ambitious teen who lacks necessary academic motivation, and meets an attractive first-grade teacher, but also a new role model. Beware, spoilers ahead. Eccentric student Max Fisher is a 15-year-old attending the prestigious boys' school Rushmore Academy. He daydreams about being revered for his intelligence, especially as he drifts off in the middle of class and church. Despite his lofty dreams, Max seems a little tuned out from reality. During a chapel assembly, Max is deeply moved by a brief speech delivered by a local industrialist, Herman Bloom, who seems to be addressing the non-wealthy underdogs like Max. He reminds them that money can't buy a backbone. In reality, despite his fortune, Bloom is a glum and disillusioned man, and is struck by Max's enthusiasm and confidence when he approaches the man after the assembly. As it turns out, Max participates heavily and, in many cases, is the founder of a significant number of extracurriculars in the school. He's infinitely more devoted to these activities than his regular schoolwork, which puts him on sudden death academic probation by the headmaster, Dr. Guggenheim. He's told that failure in even one more class will lead to his expulsion. Max tries, to no avail, to convince Guggenheim to let him coast by and get away with subpar grades. He reminds Guggenheim that he was the one who gave him the scholarship to Rushmore, based on his writing of a play in second grade. Despite his best efforts and debate capabilities, the attempt doesn't work, and the ultimatum stands. Max comes across Herman Bloom again, whose numbskulled bratty twin sons, Ronnie and Donnie, are students at Rushmore. He falsely tells Bloom that his father is a neurosurgeon, feeling the need to impress this successful industrialist. The two part ways, and eventually, Max goes to where his father actually works. He's not a neurosurgeon, but a barber. His father is supportive and signs his low-scoring test. After finding an intriguing handwritten quote in a library book, Max tries to track down the person responsible. This search introduces him to Miss Rosemary Cross, a new first-grade teacher at Rushmore. Max is smitten immediately with the woman and introduces himself one afternoon on the bleachers. While Miss Cross is startled by Max's immediately forward nature, she's impressed by his intellect, and the two strike up a conversation. This conversation leads to Miss Cross expressing her displeasure at the school's decision to cancel the Latin program to make way for Japanese. Despite having campaigned to get Latin abolished for years, Max switches courses to help him gain the woman's favor. He circulates a school-wide petition to keep Latin in the curriculum before making a personal plea to the school executives. Not only does the effort restore Latin, but it becomes a mandatory course for all students. Like Miss Cross and Max's younger friend Dirk Calloway, some are impressed by Max's efforts. Meanwhile, other students, including the aggressive bully Magnus Buchan, resent Max's ability to manipulate authority on a whim and affect the entire student body. Max is soon a regular at Bloom's plant, where he amazes Bloom with his cocky attitude and dedication to goals. He is in a failing marriage and a downward spiral, and he's unhappy with his life and fails to connect with his sons. He spends the majority of the boys' birthday party smoking and sitting far away from his family, eventually jumping into the water morosely, earning him some side eyes from the party and his wife, who's too busy entertaining another man. Meanwhile, Max pursues Miss Cross, visiting her in her classroom after school. After some conversation, Max learns that her late husband was a former Rushmore student, so she decided to come to teach there after his recent death. Noticing Miss Cross is interested in marine life, as shown by her fish tanks and the library book that led them to meet, Max approaches Bloom for $35,000 to build a massive aquarium at Rushmore. Max doesn't tell anyone else about the project, including Dr. Guggenheim, but Bloom indulges him with a check for $2,500. Soon, Miss Cross becomes concerned with Max's feelings for her, as he's a student and too young, and tries to make it clear nothing romantic will ever happen between them. Max, although disappointed, does seem to get the message. However, Max's next play has an opening night at Rushmore, and he is openly annoyed when Miss Cross brings along a male friend. She introduces him to Dr. Peter Flynn, a guest she's brought. While also in attendance, Bloom is introduced to Miss Cross, and the four of them attend dinner together. Bloom notices Max's apparent irritation at Dr. Flynn's presence and unwisely buys alcohol, making things worse. Max insults Flynn because he's come along uninvited, and when he's called out, he admits to Miss Cross that he's in love with her. A few days after the incident, Bloom visits Miss Cross at Rushmore to help deliver an apology letter from Max, as the two have not spoken since. Bloom is immediately smitten with Miss Cross as well, and later tries to casually dissuade Max from his continued pursuit. Max and Miss Cross patch their friendship up nonetheless. Max finally attempts to make progress on the aquarium project, still never having sought the school's approval, closing in on an athletics field and getting attention from the administration. The coach runs to the administration, bringing Guggenheim out to see the overreach, and for this, Max is officially expelled from the school. While Max is crushed, he never changes his attitude or habits upon attending a local public school, Grover Cleveland High. Quickly, he introduces himself to a class of disinterested public school students, while still dressed in his prep school uniform. He engages and starts up multiple extracurriculars, though the other students don't show much interest. One classmate, Margaret Yang, attempts to befriend Max, only to be ignored and dismissed by a distracted Max. After he shows up at her house, Bloom and Miss Cross begin seeing each other in secret. They take special care to hide the new relationship from Max, who they still spend time together with as a trio. Despite the fact Bloom is married, he's long since suspected his wife of infidelity, and feels something new and fresh with Miss Cross. Max still visits the campus at Rushmore on occasion, upset and lost after his expulsion, since Rushmore was the focus of his entire life. Aggressive Magus Buchan taunts Max, accusing him of only being friends with Dirk Calloway because of his hot young mom. Max crassly says that half the reason he was expelled was that he got a hand job from Mrs. Calloway in her car. Magnus is clearly unconvinced, but the rumor still spreads, eventually reaching Dirk, who is furious and betrayed by Max's rude comment. Dirk becomes aware of the secret relationship between Miss Cross and Bloom and tells Max in hopes of hurting him. When he finds out about the affair, Max confronts Bloom about it. Bloom quickly admits to being in love with Miss Cross, but claims neither wanted to hurt him. Max is unmoved and out of the relationship with Mrs. Bloom, who promptly files for divorce. This results in Bloom's indefinite residence in a hotel. Max sneaks into Bloom's hotel room disguised as a waiter and continues his revenge by infesting Bloom's hotel suite with bees. Knowing Max was responsible for telling his wife about the affair and the bee incident, Bloom runs Max's bike over with his car. Max then cuts Bloom's brakes, which endangers many people at Rushmore, and Bloom has Max arrested for the act. Max is bailed out by his father, after which he attempts to get Miss Cross fired by showing Guggenheim photos of him and Bloom together. But Miss Cross has already resigned from her position. Max visits her classroom while she packs up, and she angrily asks him to leave. Max decides to give up the revenge game and loses motivation altogether. He stops attending school and begins working at his father's barbershop. Margaret Yang continues to try to reach out to Max, but he's disinterested and turns his attention elsewhere. Around the holidays, Dirk stops at the barbershop to make amends and visit his old friend. He presents Max with a unique Swiss Army knife meant to commemorate his legacy at Rushmore. He brings, as well, news that Guggenheim is in the hospital after suffering from a stroke. Max decides to take his advice and visit him. His rage towards Max prompts Dr. Guggenheim to speak for the first time since his stroke. Bloom was also visiting, and he and Max patch things up as Bloom informs him that he and Miss Cross had split up after Miss Cross had ended the relationship. This news sparks Max's passion for extracurriculars, and he goes back to Grover Cleveland High with a new spark. He finally accepts the friendship with kind-hearted Margaret Yang and casts her in his latest play. Max makes another irrational move on Miss Cross by pretending to have been hit by a car, then climbing through her bedroom window with fake blood on his face. While she sees through the ruse, she still answers his questions about why she broke up with Bloom. She says she ended things because he was married, self-loathing, and petty enough to destroy Max's bicycle. He tells her Bloom's thought. Miss Cross is still in love with her late husband, Edward. Max leaves through the window, finally accepting that he'll never win Miss Cross. After apologizing for his bad behavior to Dirk and Margaret, Max puts together a new play. The play is partially inspired by the Vietnam War, of which Bloom is a veteran. He casts Margaret, Dirk, and Magnus in leading roles. Magnus comes as a surprise, but he's always wanted to be in one of Max's plays. Max invites Miss Cross and Bloom to the premiere, assuring they can be seated next to each other. He also invites Dr. Peter Flynn to apologize for his bad behavior in the past. Max dedicates the play in part to Miss Cross's late husband, calling him a friend of a friend. The play is a massive success, and the cast is pleased to congregate at the party afterwards. While Max and Margaret get closer, Miss Cross and Bloom consider giving their relationship another try. Bloom asks Margaret for a dance, which leaves Max and Miss Cross alone. Max signals to the DJ, who plays Ooh La La by the Faces, and they approach the dance floor together. And that's going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this recap as much as we did. If you liked the video and want to look into other movies with us, then be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on. That way you won't miss a single video.